tuned in to The Andrew Lawton Show.
So I want to welcome into this show an expert on Indian politics and a wonderful contributor to True North, host of the Rupa Subramanya Show, the aptly named Rupa Subramanya. Rupa, it's good to talk to you on this. I mean, obviously, the domestic politics in India are far more complex than we can delve into on this show. And I know that diaspora politics in Canada, which has multiculturalism as its official mandate, tend to seep into our affairs here. But at its core, I mean, an allegation of this nature without accompanying evidence is a huge problem.
Absolutely, Andrew. And the manner in which these allegations were made were rather dramatic. In the House of Commons, the Prime Minister makes these allegations against an ally. This is the kind of treatment that you would this is how you treat a tin pot dictatorship like North Korea, not an ally. And as I've been commenting on X or Twitter, whatever it's called right now, that there were ways in which Justin Trudeau could have handled this. He could have handled this more diplomatically. There's all kinds of private back channel talks. He could have. I think he raised this with Modi at the G20 summit last week, but there's a lot more that could have been done. But instead, he just really launched these allegations in this very dramatic manner, alienating an ally. I mean, where the relationship was already on the on the brink, and now it's really like I don't even know how we recover from this.
Well, far be it for me to give Justin Trudeau, with his track record on India and on foreign policy in general, the benefit of the doubt. But if he did raise this with Modi, he did raise it directly, and he raised it with Indian officials, and they were not getting any response or any pushback or any cooperation. What is the right way of dealing with it?
Well, as I mentioned, I mean, there's a lot that could have been done. He could have continued with these talks. He could have continued engaging with his with Modi and the officials in foreign affairs or global affairs. Could have reached out to their counterparts in India, at their foreign ministry. The point is, Andrew. If this intelligence, if it is credible, there's a way of working with an ally, on this. I mean, it's also in Canada's interest to be able to identify potential terrorists. Let's not forget, and a lot of Canadians forget this. One of the worst terrorist attacks on Canada was the Air India bombing of 1987. More than 300 people died in that bombing, and most of them were Canadians. And that was perpetrated by Khalistani separatists living right here in Canada. So we've kind of normalized the Khalistan separatist movement, which India continues to treat the Khalistan separatist movement as a serious security threat. We've unfortunately in Canada not taken it very seriously, but for India, it's a very serious issue. Of course, I mean, one doesn't want to excuse extrajudicial killings. I absolutely abhor them, and nothing can justify that. But the point is that we've come to this point where India, actually did, when Justin Trudeau visited India in 2018, I believe the then Chief Minister of the state of Punjab gave a list of, people that India was concerned about. These were, some, and that included Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And this list was given to Justin Trudeau by an opposition leader, by not a member of the ruling party. It was given to Justin Trudeau by a member of the Congress party, which is opposed to the current ruling party. So the point is that in India, across political lines, across partisan and ideological lines, the Khalistan separatist movement is considered a serious security threat, and it's been, a long-standing issue with Canada that Canada just doesn't take this seriously.
I share, by the way, your contempt for extrajudicial actions and extrajudicial killing. So I don't want any one of the, people that are out there that just want to, crap on this show and True North and you and I to just say, oh, they're defending it. It's not actually that. I'm defending here due process. And when you bring up India's attempts to have these issues brought up with Trudeau in the past, it's worth noting on that 2018 trip that Trudeau literally brought along in his delegation a man who had been convicted of the attempted assassination of Ujjal Dosanjh, a former Liberal health minister and former BC premier. Again, the exact type of person that India is here saying, hey, you've got this problem, we'd like to help you, that Canada was not dealing with.
Absolutely. And let's take Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, I didn't know these details about him till, I began reading about him yesterday. And so apparently he comes to Canada on a false pretext, on a false passport. He applies to become a refugee, and the refugee panel rules that his story of being tortured in India by Indian police and experiencing brutality at their hands was completely fabricated. So they reject his application. And then I think he makes a couple of attempts at trying to remain in Canada, but he gets rejected. He marries a woman in BC, and the immigration panel once again rules that this is a marriage of convenience, so they reject his application. But he eventually goes on to become a citizen in 2015. By the way, I mean, there were also reports that he was on a no-fly list. So it's mind-boggling to me, as an immigrant who's been here since the late 90s. I came here as a young person, and just how hard I had to work to remain in Canada, to be in a country that I love so much. But whereas someone like Hardeep Singh Nijjar, he finds himself in all of these situations, but he's a Canadian citizen. It's just mind-boggling, what exactly happened there. And my sense is that, reading between the lines, when I hear Melanie Joly talking about this issue, and I saw a tweet by Mark Miller, they're actually trying to portray this guy as some kind of a saint. And he wasn't. And I have no reason to dispute concerns that India had on this guy, that I have no reasons to disbelieve Indian intelligence on this person. But I have no reasons to disbelieve the CSIS allegations that that there were some some agents of India who may have been responsible for this. But at this point, these are just allegations. Where is the proof? You're jeopardizing a very important bilateral relationship. Keep in mind that India is seen as a counterweight to China, and you have all of these major powers like the US, the UK, Australia, courting India in a really big way. But Justin Trudeau has been doing the opposite since his failed India trip in 2018. And since then, there's been a complete deterioration in the bilateral ties. Remember, Andrew, back in December 2020, when the farmers' protests was happening in India, where there was a similar tactic to the Freedom Convoy protests, where tractors and trailers just blocked like highways and the city of the capital city of Delhi. Trudeau actually condemned the Indian government, and that was the Indians did not take that.
I mean, imagine if roles were reversed and Modi was out there talking about the Emergencies Act to rein in the Freedom Convoy. I mean, he would say, that's domestic meddling. Get out of our backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think Modi even weighed in on the Freedom Convoy. But the hypocrisy of it was just astounding. But again, he was really playing to the Sikh diaspora here. They are an important constituency. My point is, this is just absolutely mind-boggling. It's diabolical. You're risking jeopardizing a very, very important bilateral relationship when the rest of the world is knocking on India's door, and here you are making these serious allegations. And now today, as you played that clip earlier, he's kind of climbing down from what he said yesterday.
Yeah, and I should just say here, I mean, in international relationships, there's a term called the realpolitik, which is to basically discuss the political landscape as the world is, not in this idealistic way you want the world to be. And this means that often when you're picking your friends and allies, you aren't looking for perfect people, you're looking for people that you need in a particular situation, which is why the West gets along with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is a necessary counterbalance to Iran. India is a very interesting country because geopolitically, internationally, it's not. I'm being simplistic here, but it's not particularly ideological in the sense that they'll work with whoever it's in their best interest to work with, which means India is available as a partner for China or Russia or the United States or Canada. And I think to have a country with 1 billion people, with the English language, with a democracy, with a rule of law, not as our ally is a profound tactical and moral failure. But economically, it's an incredibly important relationship. And if we do distance ourselves from this, it is going to be to the benefit of China, for example.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of realpolitik, I mean, I was just I just saw this tweet that the U.S. has actually been very, very reticent about condemning taking Canada's side in this because
Same as the UK, just within
yes,
the last hour, they've said
yeah,
we're not getting into this.
absolutely. The response from Canada's allies has been very lukewarm and tepid. So you really have to wonder, what was Justin Trudeau thinking in making these allegations? Did he seriously think that the U.S. I have a million problems with the Biden administration, but I know one thing for sure. Whether it was Trump or Biden, there's been a continuity in their Indo-Pacific policy, and they both recognize that India is an important player as a counterweight to China. So you really have to wonder, like, in making these allegations, did he think that he would have all of these countries on Canada's side and condemn India? Who's advising him? Who's advising him on India?
Well, I mean, that's an important question that I'd love to hear the answer to, which is what, if any, the discussions were between Canada and everyone else at the Five Eyes table. I mean, when he sat down, assuming he did, and I certainly hope he did, and presented it to the UK and Australia, New Zealand, and the US, how did they respond? And did he think that they were going to fall in line? Did they warn him against going down this road? I don't know. And a part of it is that it's incredibly difficult to really ascertain any aspect of this without knowing what the intelligence is. Because Justin Trudeau did not say that there are people that may have ties to the Indian government. He said the Indian government. He specifically said they were responsible here. Now, that to the average person is drawing a direct line between the killing of this man, of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and Modi himself or people at the higher levels. And that is a huge allegation. And when you look at India's response to this, they didn't do the whole Saudi Arabia thing of, oh, well, we're going to look into it and, oh, maybe someone down the road. They're saying, no, this is absolutely patently untrue.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I mean, these are allegations until someone actually tells us, gives us more evidence. And I think Pierre Poilievre made a statement to that effect this morning. These are very serious allegations. And, Trudeau this morning, I sensed a climb down with Pierre Poilievre. He was basically buying Trudeau's story yesterday, and this morning he was also asking for more questions. Where's the evidence? How did you tie this to the Indian government? Whether the Indian government did this or not. I mean, if they did this, I mean, it's absolutely. You no uncertain terms, you must oppose it. And I say this as someone who comes from India originally. There's no room for this kind of there's no justification for this kind of extrajudicial operation. But having said that, where exactly is the evidence?
Yeah, very well said. I know we'll continue on this, as I expect you will as well. Rupa Subramanya, you can catch her show Saturdays at True North, the Rupa Subramanya Show. Thank you so much, Rupa.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for listening to The Andrew Lawton Show. Support the program by donating to True North at www.tnc.news.